At Crimson Lights, Sharon and Nick talk up their successful business trips, but she notices he seems off and asks what's going on. Nick tells her he's good, but then admits he's not that good. Sharon can tell he wants to punch a hole through the wall right now. Nick doesn't want to get bogged down in personal stuff. They're business partners. Sharon reminds him they were married and are still good friends. Tell me what's going on. What happened? Nick relents and tells Sharon that while he was away, Sally had dinner with Adam. Afterward, Adam walked her to her room and kissed her. Sharon cringes, "Oh, Adam." Nick rants that he's sick of it. Sharon asks what he'll do about it, and don't tell me you're going to confront Adam. Nick won't because he'd rip off one of his arms. He wants that son of a bitch gone and out of everyone's lives for good. Sharon doesn't condone what Adam does, but love is love, and they can't just turn it off as much as they'd like to sometimes. Nick argues that Adam doesn't love Sally, he just wants her like a trophy. Sharon disagrees and says the only way the kiss matters is if it somehow emotionally affected Sally. Nick hangs his head. Sharon asks, "Did it?" Adam follows Sally into the club asking what happened in the park. Sally doesn't want to discuss it and advises him to give Nick some space and he'll cool off. Adam wants to know where he and Nick stand. "Did you tell him that I kissed you? Is that what set him off?" Sally wonders if he's trying to stir up trouble and asks him to leave it alone. Adam has to know where he and Nick stand because he's trying to mend his relationships with him and the rest of his family. Sally sighs, "Come on, Adam. You and I both know that is a complete lie." Adam asks why she's saying it's a lie. Sally tells him that despite what he said, everything he's said and done over the past couple of months proves he can never change. He can't let her go. He can't let go of Newman Media, and he can't let go of his anger at his father. You refuse to stop blowing things up. At the Chancellor estate, Abby's tidying up when Divin walks in wearing a suit. She admires his look, and he tells her Mamie invited them to the jazz lounge. He's hoping she'll announce she's the mystery investor and explain why she's kept it a secret. In her penthouse, Lily has a favor to ask Daniel. She wants him to be her date to the club, where Mamie has invited them. "You're part of Chancellor Winters, so you should be there." She also wants to show Mamie how happy he makes her. Daniel has a meeting he's already canceled 3 times. In the near future, they'll get together with her aunt and show her how happy they are. Lily agrees and they embrace. At Newman, Nate tells Victoria to put her pencil down. It's quitting time. He wants her to accompany him to a family get-together held by Aunt Mamie. Victoria realizes this will include Lily and Davin and asks, "Are you trying to go to war with them again?" She doesn't think it's a good idea for her to come with him to a family gathering. His cousins aren't her biggest fans. Nate assures that they have too much respect for Mamie to cause a scene. This gives him another chance to mend fences with his cousins. Victoria knows he wants that. He reminds her they're in a relationship, and it's high time she becomes part of his family. In the jazz lounge, Jack gushes to Mamie about how happy it makes him to see her beautiful and on top of the world. Jack wonders if she'll fill him in on what she's up to this evening. Mamie says she's a lucky woman with 2 families. She will always cherish the Abbotts, but now she has to work on building a relationship with Nate, Lily, and Devon. That's why she has to take certain steps to truly reconnect with them. Jack tells her she's driving him crazy with this mystery and implores, "Come on." Mamie relents and tells Jack that she bought out a private investor and now has a major stake in Chancellor Winters. If everything works out, this is just the beginning. Jack is thrilled for her and marvels at her investing prowess. She says she learned from watching John. Jack is tickled that it's all led her full circle back to Genoa City. Mamie tells him Victor is the private investor she bought from, and Jack finds it to be such good news. He just hopes she's prepared for the roadblock coming. Mamie quips, "Let's face it, who can prepare for Jill?" Mamie chortles that when Jill finds out how successful she's become as an investor, it will take her over the top. Amused, Jack adds, "Not as much as finding out you're the mystery investor." Mamie argues her money is as good as Victor Newman's. Jack reminds her logic doesn't always apply with Jill. He wants to know what else she has up her sleeve, but Mamie tells him her guests are arriving. Sorry, Jackie. Jack leaves the club after telling Mamie that he and Diane are planning their wedding celebration tomorrow. Mamie admits Diane has turned her life around and is looking forward to the event. Nate and Victoria walk in, where Lily is eyeing them from the bar. She rolls her eyes as Mamie takes them aside to show Victoria a photo of Nate as a baby. Lily flashes to telling Nate that him dating Victoria is a slap in her and Devon's faces. Snapping out of her reverie, Lily smiles half-heartedly at Devon and Abby as they arrive. At Crimson Lights, Nick tells Sharon that the kiss affected Sally more than she wants to admit. He thanks Sharon for listening and for talking him down. Sharon's always willing to help a friend keep from dismembering his brother. Nick grins. "It's one of the qualities that first attracted me to you." At the club, Adam knows what Nick thinks of him, but he thought he and Sally were in a better place. Sally asks, "Better than what?" They're friends, but he had to ruin it by kissing her. Adam apologized for that. Sally reminds him he said he didn't regret it. Adam still doesn't. It was an impulsive moment between them. Sally says it was more than that. She was just getting her life in order again, and thanks to that impulsive moment, it's all teetering again. Adam realizes she's not talking about Nick's reaction to the kiss. "You're talking about yours." Sully accuses Adam of not wanting to repair relationships, but instead twists them into what he wants. She warns him to stay away from Nick and her. She did tell him about the kiss, and it did affect him. Adam knows Nick very well. Him kissing her didn't upset him that much, it's more than that. He would only be upset if the kiss triggered some emotional reaction from her. Sally tells him to stay out of her life and out of her head and storms up the stairs. In the jazz lounge, Mamie thanks everyone for coming. "I feel as if I'm in a dream, standing her in Genoa City, my home for so many years, in the Neil Winters Jazz Lounge." She chokes up explaining how much she's missed them. Mamie is aware of their ups and downs and some of the anger and animosity that's been happening between them as well. It breaks her heart and Olivia's too. Drew and Neil are looking down with broken hearts as well. She intends to return to Genoa City to whip them into shape and make this family the powerhouse it was before and that it shall be again. In her suite, Sally paces and sighs. She thinks back to Nick saying Adam has a hold on her and maybe always will. She picks up her phone and calls Nick. In Crimson Lights, Nick sees that Sally is calling. Sharon tells him he should take it and moves away. Nick answers and tells Sally he's with Sharon working. Sally knows he's not Oak and says she's not either. She wants to talk this out and is surprised he can work right now. He says Sharon's pretty good at grounding him. Sally snarks, "Remind me to thank her." Nick decides she's right, and they need to talk. "I'm on my way." He disconnects and exchanges a look with Sharon. In the jazz lounge, Mamie intends to unify this family from the inside. She has purchased a substantial investment in Chancellor Winters from a secret investor. Devon doesn't think it's a secret. They know it's Victor. Mamie hopes they're as excited as she is that she will be strongly connected to the future that Lily and Devon are building in memory of two of their most extraordinary family members, Catherine Chancellor and Neil Winters. They all raise their glasses. Mamie tells Nate they all know he's in deep at Newman Enterprises, but it would give her great pleasure to lure him away and rejoin them at Chancellor Winters. Victoria frowns and Lily gawps. "Excuse me. Did you just say rejoin us?" Nick walks into the club, sees Adam, and flashes to Sally telling him in the park that the kiss left her with a mixed reaction because she could see how much pain Adam was in. He walks over to Adam at the bar and tells him, "You need to stop this. You need to leave her alone." For Sally's benefit, mine, and definitely for yours. His patience has a limit. Adam says he's right. What he did was wrong, and he wants to apologize sincerely to him and Sally. Nick knocks on Sally's door and she lets him in. He says, "Just saw Adam downstairs." He swears he didn't lay a hand on him, but he warned him that he is going to leave her alone. Sally's sure he didn't take that well. Nick says he did. He knows he screwed up and apologized to both of them. Nick doesn't believe it, he's just trying to get him to let his guard down. Sally says Adam is going to do whatever Adam's going to do, but the only thing she cares about is the reason she wanted to see him. Nick asks, "What's that?" Sally just really wants to know if they're ok. Nick doesn't know. That depends on her and what's in her heart. "I want to know the truth, no matter what it is." Sally wipes a tear and says, "The truth is that I'm falling in love with you too." She throws herself into his arms. Nick doesn't look convinced. Adam greets Sharon at Crimson Lights. She says they're closed. He saw her car, so he thought he'd stop in and say hi. He wonders if there's anything he can help her with. Sharon says he can tell her why he has to mess up things for everyone else. Adam guesses she spoke to Nick and can only imagine how he spun things. "I'm guilty as charged, I crossed the line." Sharon agrees and feels badly for Nick. Adam does too. He's fooling himself. Sharon, Sally's not in love with Nick. Sally still loves me. In the jazz lounge, Mamie tells her guests that she knows Nate left Chancellor Winters under less than ideal circumstances, but she's hoping they can leave the betrayal and mistrust in the past where it belongs, and that we can invite Nate back to rejoin us in our family's company. Lily isn't sure that's possible and is confused by Mamie using the word us. She bought an interest in the company from Victor, yet she's making it sound like she'll be an integral part of it. What exactly are your intentions at Chancellor Winters? Suddenly, Jill's voice rings out. "Yeah, I'm pretty curious about that myself." Young and restless Victoria still can't believe that Daddy waltzed back into Newman Enterprises, demoted her to co-CEO, and swapped out her portrait for his in a whirlwind power move. And she's becoming increasingly desperate to reclaim the throne. What lengths will she go to in order to wrest control back from Victor? You might be surprised. Victoria was both hurt and incandescent with anger when her father, who up to that point had been semi-retired, announced that he was coming back to run his fractured company, whilst demoting her to co-CEO. We're still not sure why co-CEOs aren't equals, but that's a question for another day. For young and restless current purposes, the co-CEO is essentially the COO, or the vice president as opposed to the president, if you will. Victoria was both hurt and incandescent with anger when her father, who up to that point had been semi-retired, announced that he was coming back to run his fractured company, whilst demoting her to co-CEO. We're still not sure why co-CEOs aren't equals, but that's a question for another day. For young and restless current purposes, the co-CEO is essentially the COO, or the vice president as opposed to the president, if you will. Victoria, of course, blamed Victor for trying to force the siblings to work together, and hollered at him that Nick's latest departure from the company was all on him. Well, that escalated the situation to the point where Victor informed his daughter if she didn't like it, she could leave Newman entirely. Nikki walked in and tried to act as a buffer by suggesting that she and Victor would go away for a few weeks before any changes were implemented. This placated Victoria, but Victor immediately nixed the idea and declared that the changes would go through immediately. Both women were stunned, and in their ensuing conversation, it became clear where Victoria's mind was going. Victoria seemed to be planting seeds of worry with her mother by making references to the toll that Victor coming out of retirement might take on his health, and even hinting that his faculties might not be what they once were. We can't imagine that Victoria would go so far as to launch a campaign to make her father look incompetent in an attempt to regain control. 'Cause if she did that, she wouldn't have much room to complain about Adam's tactics anymore. she'd be doing something just as reprehensible. Actually, we can imagine it, given how desperate she appears to be over the whole situation. And we can't help but think that it's going to lead her to a place she never thought she'd go in order to achieve her own ends. That place, on the same side as Adam. With Adam pledging to work his way back up the ladder at Newman Enterprises after being canned for trying to blackmail Audra Charles. Young and Restless previews have him landing as Nate's assistant. Which means that anything Victoria gets up to will be difficult, if not impossible, to hide from him. Young and Restless spoilers have Victoria trying to strike a deal with Nick, but he's moved on, and we don't see him looking back. Meanwhile, fall previews have Victoria gunning for revenge and taking Nate along for the ride, which means that his assistant will be too. Might Victoria have to do the unthinkable and hold her nose and team up with her loathed younger half-sibling in order to wrest control of the company back from their father? If you're up to no good, there would be no better ally, just saying. Ironically, if Victoria teamed with Adam to take back control of Newman Enterprises, we're sure he'd insist on being made co-CEO in return for his cooperation. So if successful, they'd kind of be giving Victor what he wanted all along. The two of them working together to run the company together and putting on a united front. Might Victor have made this power move in hopes of forcing his kids to band together to oust him and take their rightful places as his heirs? If so, checkmate. Do you think Victoria will eventually team with Adam to oust Victor? Let us know in the comment section.